कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि.
Now, I won't go into all of this. Astrology. What is it that you're trying to do? You're trying to look at the positions of the planet and make certain predictions, right? I want you to understand, most of the time, people who make good predictions are people who, tell you about the past very clearly, or some people tell you tomorrow what's going to happen very clearly. They're not doing it looking at the planets, they're doing it looking at you. A certain intuitiveness is there in a certain person, he says. Instead of teaching this yoga, if I sit in Chennai and just predict people's future, I will tell you in the next 10 years exactly what will happen in your life. Within 3 days, I will have a reputation that half the Chennai will be standing in queue. Very easily I can do that. But in the yoga center also there are people who have been into so much sadhana, they can do such things. If they ever do such things, I will finish them. We won't let them go on with that nonsense. We'll immediately chuck them out of the place. Because by predicting somebody's future, you don't alter the quality of his life in any way. You don't bring any kind of true well-being. It is just, you're getting him into more and more ignorance, isn't it? Now if you have the power to know your tomorrow, you will only become more ignorant, more egoistic, more stupid, more harmful. You go by the normal rules, it's okay, you don't have to know what's tomorrow. You are made like this right now, the quality of your life and your own way of being is such, if you know tomorrow today, you will not participate in today, isn't it? Yes or no? Suppose I tell you, whatever you do, you're not going to die, you will do irresponsible things in the world. Or if I tell you tomorrow morning anyway you will die, now you won't participate in today, isn't it? So, you should not know the future. It's not necessary for you to know the future. Can somebody predict? Yes, sometimes, but that's not 100%. It's never 100%. Every object has a certain influence on you. See, right now this vessel, because of its shape and its material, it has a certain influence. It has a certain vibration emanating from it. If I allow this vessel to influence me, I keep him next to me because he's quite a good friend. I'm not keeping a plastic pot because I don't like the things that he says. I keep this one because, he's saying pleasant things. I am always in good company, please see. But now if I allow this vessel to influence me too much, slowly I will become like a vessel. This will happen to you. Many people have become like vessels, isn't it? Haven't they? They will let things influence them so deeply, they will become like that. No, I won't let this copper vessel to influence me. But being in my company, he is so influenced. You will see, you take another copper vessel, you give me anything. Right now you give me any object. Just give it to me for 20 seconds. I'll hold it in my hand and give it back to you. It will be different. If you're sensitive, you can feel it is distinctly different. So, the question is just this, will you allow objects to influence you or will you influence the objects? Something else. The planets definitely are large objects, so they have certain vibrations, they have some influences on everything around them. If they're close to this planet, yes. Do you know, on Paurnami and Amavasya days, full moon day and new moon day days, people who are little mentally disturbed or imbalanced become much more imbalanced? Yes? Even the ocean is going crazy, isn't it? Do you all go crazy? Twice a month? Some of you are not saying anything. Okay. Twice a month if you're going crazy, you would have observed. Anyway, please ask your family, they will tell you. Now, compared to that person who has an imbalanced mind, you are much more stable, much more established. Wherever the moon goes, you don't go crazy. If you're much more established, wherever any planet goes, you don't go crazy, that's all. The purpose of your life, the destiny of your life is fixed by you and nothing else but you. Yes, everything has an influence, but what you make out of that influence is still yours, isn't it? But if you're going to be pushed around by inanimate objects, yes, you can be pushed around. To that extent it is true. I am saying, when the divine is functioning within you, when the creator is functioning within you, why are you allowing inanimate things to influence your life? If you allow this dimension to flower in you, you will see life happens fantastic. Let the stars go anywhere, let the planets go anywhere, you will go only where you want to go. You want to go where you want to go? Or you want to be pushed around by inanimate objects? You must decide that. Now, they're writing it in horoscope and giving it to you how you're going to live. Please tell me, if there is an intelligent person in this room, can you predict what he will do the next moment? He may do something that nobody has ever done, isn't it? If there is a fool here, if you look at him, you can say, okay, this is how you will live. If they have to write it on paper and give you that this is the way you will live, what to do? That means you're refusing to use your intelligence, isn't it? Now, anything that you want to do, you want to look at the planets and stars. You want to step out of your house, the planets should align themselves properly. Yes? Right time, wrong time. Are you looking at all those things? Rahu kalam, guna kalam, whatever else. If you want to get married, you go and ask the third person, can I live happily with my wife? I think it's obscene. Whatever the kind of fool you marry, why can't you live well with her or with him? Whatever kind of idiot you're married to, once you've chosen to marry, why don't you live well with them? Or if they're showing some new kind of madness that you did not predict, why don't you leave them? Anyway, with all the predictions, horoscopes all matching well, still these two people nobody can match, isn't it? Any astrologer will match horoscopes for people, but can they match these two people? To what extent you're being responsible for the other, only to that extent your marriage works. Is it so? How responsibly you handle the other person, only to that extent it is working. Is that so? No? Personal development I'm talking. I understand. I'm talking about developing your life.
Like for example, you say that on a certain period of moon, like Amavasya or Purnima, the energy is about
Yes, I'll come to that. Now, see, every shape, every form has a certain impact upon you. Now this vessel is sitting next to me, it is emanating its own kind of vibrations. Every object is doing it. But now it's up to me whether I allow this vessel to influence me or I influence this vessel.
That's left to me. Which way should it be? Which way should it be? This vessel should influence my life or I should influence its existence? Human nature should do that, isn't it? Now, all these stars and planets, they're inanimate things, aren't they? Rock and stone, isn't it? Rock and mud, isn't it so? Inanimate. Now, should inanimate things rule the destiny of your life, or human nature should rule the destiny of inanimate things? Which way should it be? Human nature should, if you have realized the potential of what it means to be this. Otherwise, inanimate things will rule you. Now Paurnami comes, full moon day. Do you know, during full moon days and new moon days, people who are little mentally disturbed go hyper on those days? Are you aware of this? Do you all go crazy on new moon days? Do you? No. Compared to them, you are a little more stable. Because of this, wherever the moon goes, you can carry on your normal process of life. But for them it is not like that. Because they're in a certain level of instability, if the moon comes up, they're going crazy. The moon disappears, they're going crazy. So, you're a little more stable, suddenly moon has no impact upon you. It is pulling up the whole ocean, but no impact upon you if you're a little stable. Similarly, if you stabilize yourself further, nothing has an impact upon you, but you impact everything. Human nature should decide the course and the destiny of all inanimate things, not the other way around, isn't it? If you allow yourself to be influenced, anything and everything is willing to influence you. But that's not the way you should exist. You must take the course of your destiny into your hands, and you should go through what is needed to empower yourself that way, rather than waiting for the stars and planets to fall into position. Many of the stars that you're looking at up in the sky, they don't even exist, do you know? Many of them have disappeared long ago. Because they're so far away, the light is still coming, slowly. Yes, light is coming very slowly. That is why for so long you're seeing. Actually, the stars have disappeared long ago. But you are making your calculations based on those stars. It is just that every object has an influence. Definitely, planetary positions have an influence. But whether you allow yourself to be influenced or not, that is in your hands. If you have realized your human nature, you should not allow all these planets to decide your life, isn't it? You must decide the quality of your life.
Future seems very hopeful to you? Because you have seen how it is in various places. So, human nature may be the same, but still how it is going to be in the future, is there any…
Prediction. What's going to happen in the future? See, if my whole thing was to make a prediction, then why would we do all this work? It doesn't matter how bleak the situation looks right now, but don't ever underestimate what is in a human heart, what people really want. Don't underestimate that. In 10 years' time, the whole world may just be changed into a complete different possibility, you know. It is just that people need sufficient poking to get them going. But when they get going, you don't know what they can do. They can do something that's never happened on the planet till now, isn't it? Isn't it so? So, don't try to predict future. See what kind of future do you want to create. Why are we always trying to predict future? I want you to set a goal. Before I die, I want to leave the world at least this much better. Wouldn't that be better? Instead of predicting future, why don't you set a goal for yourself? Before I leave this world, I will make it at least this good. If all of us set a goal like that, definitely there's a wonderful future ahead, isn't it? We are hoping from the stars some guidance will come. Stars are dumb, inanimate rocks. Okay? You are supposed to have brains and intelligence. They don't have all that. They're just far away, but they're just dumb, unintelligent rocks, isn't it so? Yes or no? Just because they are far away, we don't have to attach such importance to them. They are not guiding our lives. Human destiny is in human hands. How we handle it, that's what it will become. If we handle it sensibly, definitely there's a wonderful tomorrow. If we handle it foolishly, definitely there's going to be a terrible tomorrow, isn't it? So don't predict. Predictions means an insult to humanity. All predictions are a terrible insult to humanity, isn't it? Isn't it so? That means there is no value for what a human being is. All this nonsense is happening simply because you have not realized the immensity of being human. How big it is to be a human being is not been realized. The very wonderful stories in India you must have heard. In India there are stories like this. If gods have any problems, they get into trouble, they will come down to meet the sages and saints for advice and consultancy. You know that? This is just to tell you, a human being can raise himself to such a stage that even the gods will have to seek advice from him. Just to tell you the immensity of being human, what it means. So, if you realize the immensity of being a human being, then you won't predict, you will create.
Karpuragauram karunavataram samsarasaram bhujage